This episode is brought to you by Grasshopper. Stay connected and run your business from your mobile phone with Grasshopper. To save $50 on your order, visit trygrasshopper.com/TWiP. Today on TWiP Apps, we explore Picktorial, a robust, affordable, non-destructive photo editing app with impressive power and quality lurking under the hood. With dozens of photo editing apps on the market today, picking one to get to know intimately can be a difficult decision. You want something with powerful, high-quality editing tools, a modern and robust engine that takes advantage of the latest hardware and OS technologies, works both standalone and as an extension, is easy to use, flexible, and won't break the bank. I present for your consideration Picktorial, an app from a small Israeli company that are sure to impress. I'm Photo Joseph, and this is TWiP Apps. Welcome to another episode of TWiP Apps. I'm your host, Photo Joseph, and today's guest is Dr. Yoav Hakohen, a doctor of computational photography with a company called Picktorial, here to show us his app, Picktorial. Let's bring him on. Dr. Yoav, welcome to the show.
Hi, Joseph.
Welcome. It's great to have you on here. So let's learn a little bit about your company to begin with. So the company is called Picktorial, and the app itself is Picktorial. How big is this company?
So we are a small team of designers and engineers. We are like 4. We started working on Picktorial right after I finished my PhD. It was 2.5 years ago. During my PhD, I realized that the technology that I was working on can really be used to build an efficient and powerful photo editing workflow. So right after I finished, then we started working in this, and here we are having Picktorial.
Awesome. Now, the other 3 people in the company, were these fellow students, people you knew from school, or people you met up afterwards?
Okay, so actually, one of them is my brother.
Okay.
And the other one is my father. Both have really relevant experience. My brother is also a photographer, and he's a software developer. And my father was a project manager for software development for years. So now we are all together working on this.
That's great. I love hearing about family businesses that are making great software like this. It's very cool. It's definitely a turn from the family businesses of yesterday. It's an interesting thing to see, and it's nice to see that happening here. Well, welcome again. And where are you guys based? You're in Israel, right?
Yeah, so we are located in the Hebrew University campus in Jerusalem. We want to stay close to where new ideas are being developed.
Right. Awesome. Very good. Okay, so the app itself and the company's name are both Picktorial. And this is, to date, this is your only app, right? This is the app that you guys are making.
Right. This is our first app.
Great. And it is, when did it come out?
So we launched on March, I think, 6 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still very new. And this is obviously a Mac app. We know that. Is this cross-platform, or is there any plan to bring it cross-platform?
Yeah, we plan to bring it both to iOS and Windows.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. That'll be interesting to see this on iOS. I know there's some pretty big features in here, so it'll be cool to see how that translates to the smaller screen. But of course, I guess on an iPad, it's a pretty big screen there.
Yeah, the iPad is also very powerful today.
Yeah, absolutely. So the target market for Picktorial, is this a consumer app? Is this for professional photographers? Is this for everybody? Who are you trying to sell this to?
So we built Picktorial for aspiring photographers and also for professionals. And we see users with really diverse cameras, from iPhones to even Nikon D800. So it really varies.
Okay.
Yeah, but we see that even beginners can really get used to it very easily.
Okay, well, I think in a moment here, we'll jump into the demo. We'll see how easy it is to use. But before we do that, what is the cost of Picktorial?
The regular price is 50 USD, but we now offer Picktorial for an introductory price of 25 USD.
Okay, so half off.
It's a great deal.
That is a great deal. Well, the best thing to do is for us, of course, is to jump in and take a look at it. But before we do, let's just get a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Grasshopper. Grasshopper is a virtual phone system designed for entrepreneurs. Grasshopper works just like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware purchase or software installation. With their iOS and Android app, callers can reach you wherever you are on your mobile phone. Grasshopper allows you to keep your existing number so you can maintain your brand. Or when you make a call, your client can see your Grasshopper caller ID instead of your personal phone number. Simply select a toll-free or local number, record a custom greeting, and add multiple extensions for your business. Toll-free numbers are great for marketing and make your business sound more professional. You can set up department and employee extensions with custom call forwarding to any phone in the world. You can get voicemails emailed to you as audio attachments. And you can also send and receive text messages from your business number. Join the over 250,000 Grasshopper customers today. Plans start at just $12 a month, and you have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Turn your smartphone into a business line with Grasshopper. To save $50 on your order, go to trygrasshopper.com/TWiP. That's trygrasshopper.com/TWiP. And we thank Grasshopper for their support. All right, we're back, and let's take a look at this great app called Picktorial. I think you've got it fired up and ready to go on your screen, so let's go ahead and bring it up here for our audience to see. Tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, so this is the window of Picktorial. You see at the left side, there is a library where you can see your folders. You can see an Aperture library that I already imported. Here is an inspector where you can edit your photo. Let's just import a photo first, or a folder. I'll just get this folder here. You see everything just pops in. Everything immediately appears.
Okay, so we're looking at essentially browsing the Finder. We're looking at images that are on the Finder. We're not importing them into its own database. We're looking at just the images on the Finder. Is that right?
Right. So there is no catalog. While Picktorial is a non-distractive app, it still doesn't use a catalog. So you can back up your photos with Time Machine or sync them in Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever you want. So this is really easy.
Okay.
But we do have search, so you can still search for photos. Like here, I can type rating is greater than 3. So you see that.
I see. Okay.
So we do index things. So I do want to show you this photo. I can revert everything here. So this is the original photo, how we got it from the camera. So it's a raw photo, so we can recover the highlights.
So we're looking at a Nikon file, right? It's NEF, that's Nikon?
Yeah, that's my Nikon 5300. Here I just pulled the exposure down. You can see that the details at the hair are now noticeable, even though they were not noticeable at the beginning.
Yeah, that's pretty dramatic for just being an exposure slider. That looks really good.
Yeah. Now I want to show you that we can do some local adjustments. And I want to start with the blur, which is not something that you can see in non-destructive apps usually. So here's the blur. I want her head to be in focus.
Sharp, right.
And now, but I want her body to be in focus too, so I can erase from the blur here.
So you created essentially a radial mask to start with, and then you're brushing parts of the mask away. Is that right?
Right, exactly. And now I want to use the tone brush. Every time you start using a brush, you see a little tutorial for that. Now I'll just turn it off. I want her head to be a little bit brighter.
So you're adjusting the exposure. This is separate from the original exposure tool, and we're looking at the retouch tool. So that every time you grab the brush, you're starting over again, or how is that separating from the blur that we had already put on?
Right. So everything is like Picktorial handles a layering system behind the scenes. So it's not like other non-destructive apps that just apply everything together. We do have a layering system behind. So you can do powerful things like blur.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now you can just turn off or on each of the adjustment that you made here. With the blur, without the blur, with the tone, without, or the global lighting, everything. You can just toggle it on and off. For comparing, and you can compare everything together.
So there's a before and after, and then the A/B there is going to give you a side-by-side?
Yeah. Okay, so now I want to show you the presets. Every preset is just a set of parameters that you can edit later with the curve.
So I see the preset you just selected was called Kodak. I think you said Kodak 1. So you're mimicking various film looks, or at least trying to mimic various film looks to give you that that film appearance for your photos.
Yeah, exactly. We did that for several films.
I see they're called just Kodak 1, Kodak 2, Kodak 3. Is there a specific film stock for each one of those that you're trying to mimic, or is it more the general Kodak look, a general Ilford look that you're going after in here?
Yes, there was a specific style, but I don't remember now which was the exact model.
Okay, fair enough.
And also you can import or export presets. You can filter presets by, it's a keyword actually. Just let me create a new preset from that. Okay, so here you can have your own tags.
And then you I see. And then you can search by, or rather sort by those tags.
Yeah, and then you see here my tag. So only that preset here and the reset one. So
got it.
This is default.
And then since you can export these, this is something that you could export, put up online for other people to download and use.
Yes. When you export, you get a file. You can share the file, and then you can import, or your friend can import the file.
Nice.
And also now, when you import a preset, you can go and say, I don't want the exposure to change when I apply the preset. So you lock or you unlock.
Oh, that's very cool.
The whole light. So you can do that. You can do that specifically for the exposure or for...
Okay, so individual parameters can be locked, or an entire collection of parameters.
Yeah, or for the contrast or for the white balance, whatever you want.
That's really interesting. I like that a lot. Typically, you see in a preset, you kind of need to start with your preset because you never know what exposure changes are going to be needed and so on. And so by doing this, if the preset itself has an exposure adjustment built into it, you're able to lock in what you've done so you don't have to do it over again.
Right, but sometimes you have an underexposed image or an overexposed image, but still you want to have a consistent look for all your photos. But you do want to have one preset for all of them. So here you can say, for a specific image, I don't want you to change that exposure.
Okay, so now when building the presets, let's say that I built a preset that had an exposure adjustment and that's it. Now, since I haven't adjusted temperature, tint, contrast, and everything else, if I apply that to an image that has a bunch of different things changed, is it going to reset the contrast, clarity, and so on back to 0 because that's what it was in the preset, or is it only going to apply the one adjustment that I had actually moved?
So I'm not sure about that one, but I think that if the preset, if the filter, like the light section or the curves, was on the default settings, then it's not written in the preset, and then it's not applied anyway.
It makes sense.
But I'm not sure about that.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, I love that you can lock in individual aspects of the presets. I think that's, or individual aspects of your setting before applying a preset. I think that's really interesting. It's the first time I've seen that in an app. I like that a lot.
Right. When we started to work on the presets, we considered the other approach, but then we thought that it's too limited for us, and we wanted this approach instead.
Very good. Okay. So what are we looking at here? The overlay.
The overlay here is just a simple layering system. You can have a grain texture over your image or some dust. Then you can choose the mode here.
So this would be like taking it into Photoshop, putting whatever that texture layer is on top of it. I see you can choose your own image. It doesn't have to be one of the built-in presets, and then just change the overlay mode.
Yeah,
nice.
You can put everything. Yeah, I want to show you how I can retouch a photo now.
You're searching for specific images by rating them, by searching for ratings.
Yeah, I can just type here rating and everything with rating. So let's take this image. I'll zoom in. So you see that the skin is really smooth now. Here you get the little tutorial. And now I want to do that again. So I'll get the smooth brush. I'm brushing over the skin. Maybe it's not too dramatic in the resolution of the Skype, I don't know. But even after I brush, like I define the mask, I can still set how fine is the texture. And this is something that you can even do in Photoshop, because in Photoshop, when you do skin smoothing, then you have first to separate the texture from the structure, and then you set each of the layers, the opacities of the layers. But here in Picktorial, we do change everything with preview, real-time preview. So I think it's really make it very easy to do that without a lot of experience.
Sure. Yeah, it looks great. It's now the resolution is drawn back through on Skype, and I can see the picture quite nicely now. And yeah, that seems to be doing a great job on there. It's a
so
nice
that's
smoothing.
The before, that's the after, and you can also
do that again. Show us the before and after one more time.
That's the after. That's the before.
Great.
After.
Yeah, that's a nice difference. Very good.
Yeah, now I can also have a patch tool for like other things that are not smoothed by the skin smoothing.
Okay, so the patch tool, I can see as you click on an area, it appears to be grabbing what it thinks is the right spot. And okay, I just saw there you went ahead and moved its source to something else, and you can paint on as well. Excellent.
Right. Yeah, that's it. And then you have sharpen. And for the sharpen, yeah, you have two scales for the sharpen. So you can get the fine details up or high, or the micro details up or high.
So we're looking at sharpen in the retouching category, in the brushes themselves. Is there an overall sharpening for the whole image that lives separately from this?
No, but you can apply the sharpen for the entire image by clicking here on the fill button.
Oh, that's great. So there's masking tools at the bottom. I see fill and clear out.
And then I can clear out with with this brush.
Great. And I also see that's where all your brush controls there are. They're on the bottom, the size and feather and flow and edge. Very nice.
Here I can get another layer of the sharpen with different parameters, like for the eyes.
Yeah, sharpening on the eyes is definitely one of those things you want to do locally and really make those eyelashes pop.
Yeah, and you want the fine details here to be very strong, maybe.
So explain to us what the difference is between micro and fine details. It's like one of those small and even smaller, big and even bigger. It's micro and fine. What is the difference there?
Yeah, so we basically separate the image into different layers of details. And then we recompose them, and each layer has micro details, which are small details, and the other one has fine details, which are not as small details.
Got it. Alrighty. So back to the image.
Yeah, that's it, I think.
Okay. Let's pull up another shot. What else can we take a look at in here? So the searching, I notice you're doing the searching by typing in rating is greater than. Is that the only way to do the search for something like a 5-star image or whatever? You have to type that in, or is there somewhere else a window, a button, a preset that you can access to quickly access your searches?
Yeah, actually we don't have a UI yet for this. We tried to keep the UI really, really clean, and yeah, some things we didn't find yet a solution how and where to put them.
Okay.
If we have, the search here, so it will take too much of the space. Maybe we should, have a little pop-up window or something.
Yeah, a little drop down even with presets would be helpful to search for color tagging, or if you have color tagging, to search for those, search for your rated images. Just because someone having to type in rating greater than 3, that's a lot of steps to remember, and obviously it's going to take time, so it makes it hard to quickly go in there and very quickly show me my 3 stars, my 5 stars, my 1 stars.
Right. Okay, also we have here a frame tool. Here you can have a solid frame, you can change the width, the radius of the frame, the color, the hue, and the brightness. Or you can have a different type of frame that is image based, and then you can set the width or the blending mode for the color frame, for the color, and for the frame.
Okay. Now, I noticed when you're adjusting the width, I think on a frame like this one, obviously it needs to overlay the entire image because you're possibly looking through the image. But the very first one that was essentially just a border, as you made that border thicker, it encroached on the image. Is there a way to make it shrink the image so that you still have your entire picture, you're not cropping anything out, but you're also adding a big fat border to it?
That's a good point. We could do this actually, but we didn't.
It's always been one of those things that I've seen a lot in apps that add frames. They put the frame on top of the image, and quite often you want a frame, but you don't want to lose any of the image. If I wanted to lose part of the image, I'd crop it out in the first place, right? So if I can, and obviously if you have a frame that has some kind of texture to it, that has to overlay. But if as much as the image as possible was retained while still showing off the frame as it's meant to be shown, and then you could add your border, add your thickness, whatever, but it happened outside of the space, that would be, I think that would be to your advantage.
I think that this is for a technical reason, and it's not that important for users. Like, no one complains. So, it's just, it can take a little work to do that technically. And if it's not that important, then most developers just want to bother.
Right.
So this is the frame tool, and then you can also have a watermark. So this is just our watermark. Then you can have your own image. You can pick one.
Is it only image-based, or can you type something in as well?
So currently it's only image-based. Yeah, maybe we'll change that in the future. So
having an easy way to watermark things is great. A lot of people really do like to do their watermarks. So having a nice, simple way to do it's great. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And then you can also here, just like the overlay, and you can change the blend mode, whatever you want.
Yep.
And then you have color profiles. This is really an advanced feature. When you take a raw photo from the camera, there are some different ways to understand the colors that you get from the sensor. There is no one single true color,
right, of course,
that is good for that. So there are several things, and here I can choose between Picktorial Natural or Picktorial Standard. There is a little bit of different.
Sure.
There is also Adobe Standard, and I have it here because I have Lightroom installed on my computer.
So that profile automatically shows up just because Lightroom's in there?
No, not automatically. You have to go here, and maybe you have to have here something. I don't know why. For me, it appears automatically, but you have maybe to do something for that, to point to the folder.
So on this topic, talking about the profiles, where is the raw decoding happening on your in your app? Is this being handled by the Mac OS? Is it being handled by your own raw decode? Where's that coming from?
So we have our own raw engine. We use that for most Nikon, Canon, Sony, and many other cameras. But for some cameras, we do use the core image, like the macOS raw engine, and because it takes time to calibrate all cameras, and we have a small team, so we started with the most popular ones.
So that's really interesting. So I think this is the first app that I've seen then that will do that. So you've got your own raw decode for certain camera profiles, certain cameras, and then if you haven't written one yet, you let the Mac take over and do it on its own.
Right. So when a new camera is there and we don't have profile for it, or we can decode that, or just maybe you haven't updated Picktorial yet, and Apple already have their decoder for that camera, then you automatically will get the camera, the RAW from the macOS. And
That's
when
great.
we will have that camera supported, then you will get it from Picktorial.
So is there a way for the user to switch between them? Because if I like the way that the Mac has rendered my Canon file, or whatever it might be, and I like it more than the way that Picktorial's rendering it, can I switch inside of the app and choose which RAW engine I want to use?
No, you can't. Maybe we should have that option here in the camera profiles, because it's kind of that thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, because it's RAW is very much in the eye of the beholder, right? It's very much what you think is, you as the user thinks looks better. And there's no, as you said at the beginning, there's no right or wrong. It just is what the engineers have determined it should be. And obviously, the engineers can't possibly see every single image that's ever been created and know how to best decode it. So there are absolutely times where one raw decode engine just looks better on an image than another one. It'd be great to have the UI to be able to toggle that back and forth and decide what you want your starting point to be as the user.
Well, that's a good point. I think that you can think about that as just another profile. We do support custom profiles. You can have your own DCP profiles. You can calibrate your camera or get a profile from the internet with color checker or something.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be. I think that'd be a good thing to see in there. Very good.
Also, the last thing you have some info here. So you can see the dimension, the lens, and the camera model.
Got it. How about advanced metadata handling? Is that happening anywhere in here?
No, not yet. This is something that we want to add soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So basically what we're looking at is a reasonably small but quite robust app as far as your basic editing tools go. You have your exposure and contrast, of course, your curves, even color profiles, some fun things like the ability to add a frame to it, some quite advanced color correction, color saturation type tools in there as well. Why would a potential customer choose this app, just from a high level overview? Why would they choose Picktorial over one of the many other apps out there? Now, when you're comparing to something like Lightroom, obviously you've got a major cost difference. So that's a pretty significant reason right there. If you don't need Lightroom, these are the tools you need. This is going to work. But just compared to all the other small $20 to $50 apps that are on the App Store that do basic adjustment, give me a couple of things that make Picktorial stand out. What is it about it that's going to make it better?
So I think that the main difference is non-destructive workflow. Most of the apps are either non-destructive or have advanced retouching capabilities. And I think that Picktorial just have both. You can get a non-destructive workflow. You can compare everything. You can undo everything out of order. And this is really important if you want to be flexible with your workflow.
So essentially, you're getting the power of a much bigger, more robust app, but in something that's quite small and affordable.
Right. And on the other hand, you do have the ability to apply blur, to apply skin smoothing, to apply tone brushes, etc., etc.
Some pretty advanced tools in there for sure. Okay, I think that's probably one of the big takeaways for our audience is you are doing some things uniquely. Especially things like the applying of the presets, being able to protect certain parameters. I think that's very, very interesting, and I haven't seen that before. Doing your own raw decode in combination with the max raw decode for the cameras that you haven't yet processed, and that's just a brilliant way to approach it. Of course, I would love to see the ability to just toggle between, as we talked about, but I think that's a very good approach to it. So really, at the end of the day, you're giving some pretty robust editing tools here for a very low cost for people who aren't really into Photoshop or don't want to pay the $50-something a month for the full Creative Cloud suite, or even whatever the 10 or 15 a month for Photoshop itself. It's you're getting some good tools here for a very, very effective, a very affordable price.
Yes, and also I think that for Aperture users, we do support the catalog, so you can have all your projects right within Picktorial.
I think you got some naming to do in your Aperture library.
Yeah, right. I just made a little test library.
Okay, so that's a very interesting thing. So if you are an Aperture user and you want to have better editing tools than what's in Aperture today, because let's face it, Aperture's editing tools are a bit lackluster these days, this gives you the ability to maintain that library, even continue to use that library to manage your photos, but then do all of your editing outside of it here.
Right.
So where is the metadata going to be stored? I'm assuming there's an XML file, some kind of a sidecar file that saves the instructions of what you've done to the image. If you're looking at a managed Aperture library, and so the photos are managed inside of that Aperture library, where are you putting that data file, that XML file?
So we don't write back to the Aperture library. So we start building on what we get from Aperture. And then we keep everything in a sidecar, an XMP sidecar, near the file, near the original file. Either it may be inside the library, but not in the database. So we have a sidecar there. Or if it's a referenced file, it's still just a sidecar to that file.
Okay, so the XMP file is being written into the Aperture library, into the library package, but outside of the
database.
Outside of the database. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. Cool. Exciting. Is there anything we haven't looked at that you wanted to call out before we wrap this up?
No, I think we are pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well,
maybe just you can just change the workspace as you wish. That's a good thing. Or you can export to Facebook, to a folder.
So your standard macOS share sheet capabilities send it straight to whatever app or social media platform you like. Great.
Right. Twitter, we have Flickr, whatever the macOS offered you.
Okay.
And we have just export folder. You can export to TWiP, then continue to edit in Photoshop or whatever you want.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay, great. Very good. Well, thank you for showing that to us. It's a good looking app. It's definitely affordable, and it has some very nice features in there. I think a lot of people are gonna be able to enjoy. So thanks for showing that. So as our audience knows, the next part of our show is to ask our guest for their app pick. What would be your favorite app that you're using on any platform? It can be on Mac, on Windows, iOS, or Android. What is one of your favorite photo apps? And of course, it cannot be your own app.
Yeah, so now when you can shoot RAW, I think it's the most important thing on your iPhone to have a manual camera. So yeah, I'll pick manual. It's a great app. Lets you do just whatever parameters you want to have when you shoot. You can set the exposure. You can set the focus, whatever you need.
Sure,
so that's a great thing.
That is a great thing, yeah. So for iPhone, let's see, is it 6S and above, I think, right? They can shoot RAW.
Yeah.
Yep, so 6S or 7 users, and you want to have that full manual control. Manual is a great little app. Manual by Will Global. I see that here in the show notes, and I've played with that. It's a great little app, and like you said, it gives you complete and total control over the camera. It's remarkable what you can do with an iPhone these days, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And also we do support now the DNG files that you can shoot on your iPhone. You can edit them in Picktorial.
So your iPhone edited, your iPhone shot DNG files, the raw files that the iPhone shoots are DNGs. You can actually, they show up as TIFF in the OS. It's kind of weird. You see a difference depending on where you look at it. You'll see a different extension on it.
Yeah, actually, when we first took some test shots, we found that the DNG converter is crashing on these files. So we had to go into the code that actually decodes the DNG files and had to tweak it a little bit because it's not a standard DNG file.
Got it. That's typical, isn't it? It's there. It's a standard, but it's not standard. So okay, so you're saying you can take your iPhone 7 raw files and edit them in Picktorial, no problem.
Right.
Great. Good to know. Alrighty, Yoav, thank you so much. Where can our guests learn more about your app and about the company itself if they so desire?
So they can go to our website. There are some tutorials and reference documents. We also have help inside the app. And they also can reach us in our email. We have great support. We really just answer
quick to respond
immediately.
Awesome. And that's Picktorial, Picktorial, Picktorial.com. Right. What about the social media? You guys on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Instagrams?
We do Twitter and Facebook, not Instagram.
Okay. Very good. If someone's going to edit a photo in Picktorial and post it on social media, is there a hashtag you'd like them to use? Or just tag Picktorial?
Just tag Picktorial.
Tag Picktorial. Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you again, Yoav. I appreciate you coming on the show and showing us your app. I think it's a great little app, and I think it definitely has some room to grow. And like I said, it's only been out for a few months. There's a few very, very great minds behind it from the sound of it. So it'll be exciting to see what happens as it matures and as it evolves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, there we go, audience. That is the new Picktorial app from the company of the same name, Picktorial, being developed by 4 very smart folks out of Israel. It's a beautiful app. It's very simple and clean, but it has some great, powerful features. And again, I think the big takeaway here is if you are looking for that robust level of editing, more than what you're just getting out of photos or more than what you're getting out of a lot of iOS, or rather macOS apps that are on the App Store, this is giving you some of those higher end tools and definitely at that lower end price point. So it's really nice to see some true power coming in at a very affordable rate. I know a lot of photographers these days, it's especially young people starting out, you don't have the money to go out and buy the full Creative Cloud editing suite. And you probably don't need all those tools anyway, and this is going to give you the ones that you do need. Some really nice advanced features in here, the ability to protect specific controls that you have already adjusted before applying a preset. I think that's a very, very smart way to handle it. The processing of their own raw files, falling back on Mac OS where needed, again, is a very smart way to do it. As we discussed in the show, I think it'd be great to see the ability to toggle between the two, just in case the photo that you've got would look better under Mac OS. It's definitely something worth considering, and it sounds like Yoav is interested in adding that capability in there as well. It's a little on the light side. It definitely could use a few additional features in there, but again, at that price point, I think it's a very good starting point, and it's the kind of app that if you are looking for something robust and powerful and very high quality, and that is one of the keys in here. There's some very high quality algorithms. You may have noticed when I first saw the exposure slider dragging that very overexposed image down, there was one slider he had to drag, and it looked great. He didn't have to drag down the highlight protection or anything else on top of it. It seems to do a lot more than what a standard exposure slider might do. So what that comes down to, what that means is it's good code behind there. Just because you see an exposure slider on 20 different apps, it doesn't mean they do the same thing. They're all handled their own different way, and I think what we're seeing here is looking pretty good. So that is my wrap up of the apps. That brings us to the end of another episode of TWiP Apps. Thank you very much for watching. I'm your host, of course, Photo Joseph, and you can find me on the socials at Photo Joseph. You can find that pretty much anywhere, as well as on my website, photoapps.expert. And a special thanks to our sponsor for the show. Thank you very much for providing us the ability to continue. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and to visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com, where you can sign up for our email list and to be notified of new episodes and to get exclusive subscriber bonuses. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're watching on our website, you can subscribe to the show using the subscribe box on this page. If you have feedback, suggestions, or comments about the show, you can reach me, Photo Joseph, directly by using our contact form. Just click on the Contact Us menu item at the top of our webpage. And finally, if you are a developer and would like to be a guest on the TWiP Apps show, click that same Contact Us button at thisweekinphoto.com and let us know what you've got. And with that, it's time to put your lens cap back on and go edit some photos.